Just see about that. Excuse me, y'all.
We just started YouTube and stuff, you know,
Oh,
like a couple weeks ago, so we're
technology.
still getting the feel of it and the nuances. And believe me, there are many. Just opening up this stuff, go over here for this, go over there for that, go back over here for this, go back over here.
Is it only on YouTube now, and on Facebook?
Yes, I'm on Facebook as well.
Is that, whoa, I mean, is that
Yeah.
your own?
And we can do that without a phone.
Sorry. This out. Okay. But there's nobody up there saying anything. Take two? All right, now we. All right, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Central Texas, where we think more expansively, love more completely, and live more joyously. All right, sounds like good times. Thank you to Clark for a wonderful meditation this morning. Here you go. So that. All right. And we'll get started with this. Let's start by saying our opening affirmation on the top of page 4, together, to come together in consciousness. And it says, "We believe that there is an infinite power and wisdom that creates everything. We are expressions of this same power and wisdom. The thoughts, beliefs, and expectations we entertain with the most energy become our experience of life. When we change our energy and our attention, our experience changes to match." All right, birthdays on the list. We have Stella and Giovanni Fracasso tomorrow on Monday. Even though they are 3 years apart, it's the same day. That's up to them. They can look at what they want. But today, anybody else have a birthday this week? No? All right. We're celebrating today H.G. Wells, who was at war with the world. Chuck Jones, who many of you spent a lot of your youth and maybe some of your present watching cartoons he developed. Great Leonard Cohen, Henry Gibson, who made me laugh a lot. Jesse Ed Davis, who's a great guitarist. Stephen King, who likes to write. Bill Murray, who lives the same day over and over and over again. Ethan Cohen, one of the brothers that makes a lot of good movies. And Luke Wilson. We are starting we are about to start, we are not starting, the Thursday night book study again. We're going to do this book called No Self, No Problem by Chris Niebauer. They'll come in this week. We'll have them here next week, or you can order it off of Amazon. It's available. And I'll leave this out so you can look if you want to know how to spell his name and whatnot. I will tell you, it is a very easy book to read, but it is a very challenging subject. So, and I thought, we're all adults here. We can have adult conversations. But it is the idea of your construct of who you are. And it's not an easy thing to challenge. But I think it's, one of my mantras is question everything. So if we're going to question everything, we've got to question our sense of self. And how do we come up with that, and how do we navigate that? So it'll be a little bit more of a challenge, but we handled Rumi and Dennis Merritt Jones and Ernest Holmes and the Bhagavad Gita and David Walker, that we can handle this. So it's good. Or it will handle us. I'm not sure how that's going to go. All right, and now I'd like to invite Clark to come up and do an opening reading and treatment.
Thank you, Walt. Today's reading comes from the September Science of Mind magazine, an article called Living Fully at the Intersection of Our Divine and Worldly Purposes. And it's a quote from Ernest Holmes. And he says, "Let us feel that our purposes are animated and inspired from on high. And then let us go forth and make our dreams come true in human experience." With those words in mind, let us go back to within and releasing into this moment once more. And let us know together that there is a presence that knows all, lives all, is all powerful, is everywhere, including within the center of our own being. In it we have our life, our movement, and our being. And I know that each of us, as we turn to that power, by accepting, receiving, and opening to it, knowing that it is us and we are it, and giving thanks for all of that. It sustains and supports us. Its substance is our being. So let us know that. There is always more and more to know, to be. And this is our growth in awareness and in our spiritual knowingness. And I give thanks that we have this consciousness that is spirit consciousness on our plane, that we can navigate this plane in peace and love. And we can sustain our beings through this mind, this consciousness. I give thanks for all of that. I give thanks for this word and the energy in this word that moves in the energy of law. And we do that all the time, whether we know it or not. That's what's so wonderful. It's grace. It's given. It's a gift. Let us cherish it and know that there are many laws in action upon our word. And as we know this, let us release it also. For the releasing is the confidence and the knowingness that beyond that release, we just see the results of its manifestation and release this knowing that it is already so in the consciousness of spirit and the universe, which are the same thing. In love and gratitude, I release completely. And let us say together, and so it is now. Well, thank you, everyone. And now it is my pleasure. I've had this pleasure before, and I'm glad to repeat it again because Joe Mock is our musician today, and he's going to play a song for us right now, aren't you, Joe? Okay, so let's please welcome Joe Mock.
All right, good morning. Let's start with this is an old Mahalia Jackson song that Krishna Das did a version of, and this is my take on both of them. There are some things I may not know. There are some places, dear Lord, I may not go. But there's one thing of which I'm sure. My God is real, for I can feel love in my soul. Yes, God is real, real in my soul. God is real, for he has walked and made me whole. His love for me, well, it shines like pure gold. My God is real, for I can feel the love in my soul. And I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. Yeah, I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. Yeah, I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. And it's all in the name. And since you mentioned that you read the Gita a little bit, he tags it on the end like this. He goes, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Sita Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Sita Rama, Rama Rama. Yes, it's all in the name.
Wow.
All right. Thank you, Joe. You know, it'd just be better if I felt like you felt.
Next time.
You really put yourself in. All right. Thank you again. This morning we're going to continue our Back to School series. And last week we started by looking at how our entire life is nothing more than, it's a lot more, but it's nothing more than an endless learning experience as we go from classroom to classroom. That is true as long as we remain teachable. Because I believe we live most intelligently when we pay attention to what we learn and we take the capacities and the awareness that we gather along the way and we include that into our engagement and navigating of whatever is before us and whatever we're doing. Because when we do that, we are creating a new cause, and then we pay attention to the effects and the changes in the effects, and then we can make new adjustments from there as we go forward. And this morning, I want to look at what we do to approach and process and navigate whatever comes before us in the most effective way possible, because I think that makes for an easier life, but also a life that is contributing better things to the collective mix. Which, I don't know about you, but lately I think we could all be contributing something better to the collective mix. Now, we're not usually going to know everything that we think we need to know in order to get going. But we know enough to get going and to start engaging. And we're not usually going to be completely supplied with everything we will ever need from the beginning to the complete end of whatever this is. But we can remind ourselves and each other that life provides us, supplies us with everything we need on the journey. It does not give us an idea, it does not give us a desire for something greater without all the means necessary for its complete fulfillment. So that means that what life gives us is, yes, it gives us some tangible things, but most importantly, it gives us intangible things as well, because it gives us the resourcefulness to creatively combine whatever resources we have at the moment. Meaning that we may not be able to see the way to do this, to navigate this, to move beyond this, but whether we can see it or not, we need to remind ourselves and each other that there is a way. Now, I would say that most of the time, we don't see the way, not completely from beginning to end. But by the time we have the idea, by the time we've invested enough of ourselves into an idea, and we've fed our imagination and allowed that to elevate our energy to the point of starting and continuing in this direction, we have enough of an idea to start and enough of an idea to know how to get going. Now, how do we do that? It's a lot of things, but I've come down to the understanding, my most recent version of my understanding, I should say, that it's really just a mindset, that there is a way. There's always a way. When I hear somebody say, there's just no way this or that will ever change or this or that will ever get figured out, and I'm like, no, I don't believe that. Again, we have to get used to the idea that the way it shows up is not going to be like in the cartoons with the big flashing arrow with lights outlining it and blinking going, this is the way, right? No matter what it does in the cartoons or the movies. But more often, we find the next step and we find the step after that by taking the first couple of steps that we can see and we can identify and we can imagine that get us going in the right direction. Again, this is not a step-by-step instruction book that says do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. But it's more of a mindset or a paradigm. A belief system that starts and works from the premise that there is a way. Now, if you want to describe this as life responding to a demand created by us starting or us declaring or us starting the demonstration, that's fine. I'm good with that. If you would rather describe it as the quantum field, reshaping matter and reality to adjust to whatever we believe to be so, I'm fine with that too. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how we describe it. Life works the way it works. Okay? And all I have come to understand is that something, whether it's life, whether it is a law of cause and effect, whether it is the quantum field, something responds to our demand, to our actions, and to our intention. And it really doesn't matter if we could understand it all completely, all that it is, it's not going to change the way it works. So maybe our time, energy, attention, and resources are best invested into choosing the what and getting started, rather than focusing on arguing about a string of words to describe a process. And whether that process is a physical action or a reaction, whether that process is engaging a mental or a physical or a metaphysical or a spiritual law, whether that process is operating at a quantum level, I don't believe our understanding or our ability to describe it changes the way life works, not in one little bit. What changes is our ability to understand and process and navigate this life more effectively and intelligently. I think it's more important for us to figure out life enough to understand it to a level so we can put our mental and emotional and spiritual energy into the observation and application of this knowledge of life. Stephen Covey shares with us, if you want small changes in your life, work on your attitude. But if you want big and primary changes, work on your paradigm. Yeah. It's the thing. So if this mindset, this paradigm is the starting point, how do we develop and maintain and expand and live from it? That's a damn good question. I'm glad you asked. Your timing is impeccable as always. We develop and maintain and expand and live from a paradigm or any belief system the same way that we do anything else. We become aware of the possibility of a change in paradigm in general, and then we become aware of a change in paradigm possible in particular to our experience and what's going on in our life at this moment. Just as we are, right where we are, with what we have, with what we know, with what we can do. Meaning that we start considering the possibility that a paradigm like this, it is possible, number one, and that it's possible for us. And we start putting our energy and attention into developing, maintaining, and expanding it, rather than debating whether it exists or not and whether if it's available to us. And a change in our life, a change in our paradigm, a change in our belief system starts the way any change starts. Okay? But I like to start with a mantra, because that is something that I've done my whole life and it works for me, and I'm offer it to you as a spiritual practice to consider for yourself. Try it. You'll like it. Okay? And one that I've used for decades, and I was trying to think, okay, where did I get this? You know, and I cannot pinpoint any one person or any one thing that gave me this, but I know it's a amalgamation of a bunch of stuff. Okay, but I've used it, and it's been most beneficial to me in a myriad of ways. And that mantra is, I've already said it many times this morning, there is always a way. That's what I tell myself anytime I get confronted with something and I don't know what to do, I don't understand. There is always a way. So let's repeat that with me now so I know you got it. There is always a way. Good job. All right, now let's go to lunch. Now, the thing is, we're telling ourselves stuff all the time. We're assigning meaning to things and people and events all the time. We're telling ourselves stories about stuff and people and events, what's going on all the time. And it's kind of this endless commentary, this running documentary on what we see and experience and how we interpret and feel about that stuff. Okay? Our reaction to what is flavors our experience of what we're going through at the moment. And it strongly flavors our expectations about what we think is most likely to happen next. So affirming that there is always a way instructs our subconscious mind to pay attention and start working on the assumption that there is the existence of and the possibility of a way to move forward and beyond and around and through this. And that flavors our idea that it's available to us because we have done the things and we have thought the things that has made us and that keep us available to it. Joel A. Barker shares, usually the first problems you solve with the new paradigm are the ones that were unsolvable with the old paradigm. Isn't that reminiscent of Einstein's thing, the level of thinking that created the problem is not the level of thinking that will solve the problem. Right? And when we find the way, whatever the way is for you on this week, right? When we find the way, it probably will look different than what we anticipated it would look like. Why? Because a different way requires a different paradigm, and a different way requires a different consciousness. How do we develop those? That's another good question. Y'all are on a roll this morning. We find the way by observing. And just how do we observe around these parts? Objectively. We objectively observe, meaning that we observe what is going on, what is and what isn't. We observe the way things are trending, given the energy and attention we're giving to them. And we do that observation without passing a bunch of ego judgment on it. Just objectively gathering data so we can make the most intelligent decisions about what to adjust, what to replace, and what to amplify. So objectively observe things like in my life, I'm objectively observe what is slowing me down. It's always a good question to ask yourself. And 90% of the time, my answer is the same stupid damn thing every time. There's that 10% where it's something else, but 90% of the time, 92%, I'll give myself credit. I find that it's some limited idea about myself, some limited idea about the people around me, some limited idea about events going on, and some limited idea about life. All those things are housed in my paradigm of life, okay? And shifting a paradigm can seem like it's very sudden, that it happens out of the blue. Oh my gosh, where did that come from, right? But really, it's just the effect of a bunch of previous causes, a bunch of gradual change and lots of decisions over time that go into a new direction and to start changing a new habit or a new long-held belief. And the shift seems sudden. Boom, there it happened. But it's momentum reaching the tipping point where it cannot stop going in that direction anymore. It's like you get to the top of the hill, first hill of the roller coaster, and you're going, right? And an intelligent way that I've been taught to look at what's getting in my way is to go upstream in my consciousness and see what ideas are being loaded into the river that's flowing down to my point of existence and see what's going in the way. Are there conflicting messages that I'm continually still loading in, whether consciously or subconsciously? It can happen both ways. It can often just be a habitual reloading of the same crap that we put in all the time, right? Are those ideas negating the good ideas that I'm attempting to engage and enjoy at this more deeply? Are they some old messages that came along early in my life that I just really haven't, I thought I processed them, but they're still around, or I never processed them and didn't give them their due? Ideas about my value, my ability, my tendencies, or ideas about people in general, or ideas about us versus them, how we're the smart ones, we're the right ones, we're the cool kids, and the other ones are not, right? All kinds of things that just become, because they're continually loaded upstream and they come down and be our existence, and we keep drinking from that river, all those things that just continually just become the way it is, the wallpaper of our life, right? I've said this before in a different way, but Thomas Troward is more eloquent. He says, a desire is accompanied by all the means necessary for its complete fulfillment. It's complete fulfillment. Not kind of go in that direction for a little bit. It's complete fulfillment. Life provides. So whatever good we become aware of through our practices, through our awareness, through our paying attention, that good is already close enough to us for us to start approaching and engaging it in the highest and best way we can. Given our current level of awareness and understanding, which is based upon our current identity and expectations, which are based upon our current state of mental activity. So it's all related. All that, all those levels, all those different things going on, they're all subject to change as soon as we choose to change them. And the even further cool thing about this is that if any one of those things changes, no matter how slightly and no matter how insignificant it might seem in comparison to the grander scheme of things, as that any one thing changes, everything else on every other level changes as well. Because the new change becomes a new cause, and the effects ripple out and have impact. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, shares, behind every effect there is a cause. The entire possibility of demonstrating the law of good depends upon the discernment of an idea and the effects demonstrated. Ideas, belief, identity, choices, they're all cause. So if we like the effect, rock on, dude. And if we don't like the effect, start working on a new what? A new cause. Right. And here's the thing, and there's really no getting around it. All that change, all that possibility of all those different experiences available to us, all that power and resources necessary for that change, they're all always available to us. What can get frustrating to me to no end, that I endlessly amuse myself anymore, but I start to realize that how long I've been letting indecision and limited beliefs rule the day. How long they've been obstructing or keeping me distracted from the very possibility present to move me on from here to there most efficiently and effectively. And then the big question is, what is the cost of waiting? What is the cost of lost opportunity by not addressing what we need to address? How long will we keep it going? How long will we let it go and keep going before we do or try something new? What is the threshold of pain that we have to reach in order to start looking for another way? And look, we have no idea, and I mean we have no idea how much more time we have on this plane of action in this form, right? None of us do, right? As our great philosopher, Mr. Jim Morrison, used to say, time you wait subtracts the joy. Because waiting is the missed opportunity of greater living and a greater experience of life that we desire, yet we postpone it. Why do we postpone it? A variety of reasons. We justify our this, that, and the other. We have excuses. We get distracted. We get numb. We don't believe it's possible for us now, and all kinds of stuff that we go through. But cumulatively over time, that can get quite expensive in the missed opportunities and quite quickly become an expensive thing going on in our life. But there is a way. We're coming back to that because that is the title of the talk. There is a way. Okay, there's always a way. And we realize eventually, I think, that it's not so much focusing on one particular way for this particular thing. It's more about developing and living from a paradigm that there is a way, there's always a way, around, through, or beyond whatever is before us, whatever this is, this time. And we can help reveal the way best by developing a paradigm of abundance. So we realize that in an infinite universe, there is not just a way, there are multitudes of ways. So it's not about hunting down the one thing, the one answer. It's about choosing from the multitude of ways. Nisargadatta Mahara is how we say that this morning in Texas. It says, identity is merely a pattern of events in time and space. Change the pattern, you have changed the person. Can you start to see your identity as just a collection of patterns, which is what we're looking at in this book? Because it is. Your identity, my identity, our collective identity, all of it is a collection of patterns. Patterns of observations and reactions and beliefs and choices and expectations and actions taken over time. That's why changing anything, any one thing, branches out and changes your relationship with everything else. That's why change is so powerful and transformative. That's also why we're wise to work on intentional change for the better. That's why we do our spiritual practices, so that we can intentionally insert things upstream that are a little bit more life-affirming, a little bit more expansive, so that our current experience becomes more life-affirming and expansive. Okay? Dr. Holmes goes on, he says, man's experience is the logical outcome of his inner vision. His horizon is limited to the confines of his own consciousness. That is why we are taught to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. To be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Listen to those last two words carefully. Our minds. Not everybody else's, right? We are transformed, not when everybody else agrees with us, but we are transformed when we get our minds right, in alignment. So this week, when you find yourself stuck with something, and are we all going to at some point, find ourselves stuck with something? Just me. Okay, that's all right. I'll do it for you. I'll take one for the team. No, you're gonna do it. Something's going to come up, and it's going to confuse you, confound you, whatever. Okay. I just want you to remember to remind yourself to repeat the mantra of there is always a way. There is always a way. And when you repeat a mantra, you might have to say it a few times in order to get it to sink in, right? And you know what? That's funny, because that's what I believe too. I believe there's a way. I believe there's always a way. I believe there's lots of ways. And the truth is, we don't have to change the world or change ourselves completely. We only have to change our field of possibility from one of restriction to one of endless flow and endless possibility. Change our belief from, oh, that way? There may be a way, but it's hidden, and it's hard, and it's elusive. Change that into, man, it's obvious. It's available, and there's a lot of ways this can work out, and the cool thing is I get to choose which one is right for me. Okay? Same time goes by, same process being used. We're just using it more intentionally and affirmatively. And it might seem like, oh, that's just a little shift, something too insignificant to matter. But I'm telling you, the more you do it, the more you start to include this affirming paradigm into your observation, consideration, and imagination of what this good will be like for you, you're creating tectonic shifts in the landscape of what you see, who you are, how you are, and what's possible from here. And the really cool thing is that as expansive and enjoyable as this is, and as good as it feels, it's just barely scratching the surface of all that's eternally available to you and to all of us. And so it is now. So it is now. All right. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. And now let's look at your weekly affirmation, which is on the top of page 6 in your score. It's also on a little card by the door. Some of you like the cards, so we keep doing those. You can take it with you. And this says, in an infinite universe, there are lots more possibilities than I may initially observe. Keeping my identity, beliefs, reactions, and expectations expansive lets me be available to change at any time. As I change one thing, my entire paradigm and relationship to everything else changes. All right, so let's give ourselves the gift of our good attention. Maybe take a deep breath or two, or close your eyes, or reposition your physical form and allow yourself to get a little bit more present, a little bit more aware, a little bit more open to the greater possibility that life is presenting to you in this moment, but in each and every other moment of your life. Always has, is right now, and always will continue to provide the means necessary for the complete fulfillment of any desire. And the way that shows up is by staying open and receptive and resourceful to creatively combine whatever is available to us in this moment. And we have everything, we are supplied with everything we need to express the divine within us more completely, more authentically, all the time. We start to realize that we do live in an infinite universe, and as such, there are limitless ways to move forward from here. And then all the trajectories that come about because of this next step, and what we find along the way as we go, and what we discover about ourselves along the way as we go. And we learn and we learn and we keep learning and we keep sharing, keep experiencing greater levels of awareness and understanding than ever before. And we realize that the more we pay attention, the more we see there is to pay attention to. So we keep our identity, our beliefs, our reactions, our expectations as expansive and life-affirming as we can. And by doing so, our experience becomes that expansiveness. It becomes that life-affirming experience. When we start to change one thing, we start to recognize how that changes everything else that happens beyond that one thing. Because of the change becoming a cause, creating a new effect, and that ripples on out to benefit our experience of life, which then turns around and benefits all experiences of life around us as well. We love this wonderful teaching and all the ways it shows up in our lives and all the wonderful things that we get to see as we start to recognize the spiritual principles at work in life and our spiritual practices that help us develop and direct those spiritual principles in ways that benefit us and others around us as well. We love this community of like-minded individuals that get to love and support each other in all the ways we get to do that throughout the week. And we love this beautiful life and this beautiful time together this morning as we gather and do this practice of being together, of thinking on expansive and life-affirming ideas, of looking for